Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for the time and for hosting this event. Electric transmission, as you said, is often overlooked, yet it's an essential component to addressing the climate crisis. Successfully siting interstate transmission lines is notoriously difficult, and it's in large part because of the burdensome and unworkable regulatory environment we face. I introduced the Power On Act to clarify the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's backstop siting authority for interstate transmission projects, while establishing a more inclusive engagement process with states, tribes, and property owners. And if enacted, the bill will accelerate the build out of clean energy, increase our power system's reliability, and lower the costs of electricity for consumers. It's been endorsed by key groups, including the Americans for a Clean Energy Grid, the American Clean Power Association, and the American Council on Renewable Energy. I'm grateful to the committee chairs for including language from the Power On Act and the Clean Future Act, and for collaborating closely with me and my staff on transmission policy more broadly, and invite my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to join me in pushing for these important regulatory reforms. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is what I wanted to ask about, too, is that in your written testimony, Ms. Hoffman, you recommend that Congress look for ways to accelerate developers' ability to site, permit, allocate costs, and build. Can we achieve the administration's 2035 clean electricity target without authorizing FERC's backstop siting authority, leaving it to states and the way it is now in this kind of patchwork way? Doesn't the federal government need to step in and help that process work?
So, Congressman, thank you for the question, and I think it's a very important question. The Department of Energy feels that we can do a lot with the existing authorities that we already have, from the loan guarantee programs and the WAPA TIP programs to getting transmission built, to deploying new technologies to expand the capacity on the existing system. The department also believes that through an integrated transmission planning process, we can advance how we should look at and build high voltage transmission moving forward in a collaborative fashion with the states. The department also recognizes there is strong movement within the states. As we look at numerous states, I believe 19 states have net zero targets, as well as there are other states out there that actually require utilities to invest in clean energy. So I feel there's a lot of movement with the existing authorities that can be utilized as coordinated and facilitated by the department and other agencies to move and meet some of the objectives.
Do you not think it would be helpful to have backstop authority? Because what we have a system now that designates these corridors, and nothing has been built.
So I think the challenge really comes down to when there's disagreement with the states, right, and interregional transmission projects that have more than one state engaged. So at the end of the day, there are a couple options that Congress can consider moving forward. It's really looking at, does state compacts provide value in getting transmission built from a collaborative point of view, and can we be successful from a bottoms-up approach in building transmission? Some of the state technical assistance are opportunities in really getting some of those multi-state projects built. And then ultimately, it would require a decision to say, do we need this transmission line if there is disagreement among the states? And I think the most important thing is having some sort of certainty in which some of the bills that have been proposed really allow for an ultimate decision process and an ultimate decision to be made on a transmission project versus, I think, the back and forth that continues to go on, delaying the building of interregional projects.
Right, I think as you've outlined, for purposes of not just renewable energy, but for reliability and for cost, there's a national interest in interstate transmission. Don't you agree with that?
Yes, there is a need for interregional transmission just to support the seams in the United States. You look at the event that has occurred with the polar vortex in February, of strengthening those seams are important, but also just getting generation from remote areas of the country, clean generation, to the demand centers. And so that's what we really need to think about from that perspective in addition to supporting a strong grid, which really means capacity that will allow for reliability during emergency events.
Capacity, reliability, security are all things that we're concerned about in this committee. And I would also say that I agree with many of my colleagues, Republican colleagues, that permitting sometimes gets in the way. Here's a place where permitting has not established this nationwide network that I think we all agree we need. So That's why we introduced the Power On Act to help DOE achieve those goals. We'd ask you to take a look at that, and we think that if it is in the national interest, we should give states and tribes and localities and interest groups the chance to work this out on their own, but also they should know that if they don't, that the federal government would have the ability to come back in and do it. So that's, I think, would be useful in helping you achieve your goals and all of us achieving our goals as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.